Hey folks, imagine you're about to start a small leather goods business, or you've finally decided to tackle those heavy-duty upholstery projects you keep putting off. You've already scrolled through a dozen sewing machine listings, read a handful of reviews, and you're sitting there wondering if you should splurge on an industrial-grade machine or stick with a desktop model that might just choke on a few layers of canvas. That hesitation is real, especially when the price tag starts to feel like a gamble. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk you through why the Consew P1206RB walking foot industrial sewing machine might be the steadier hand you need, and also point out the scenarios where it's probably not worth the investment. First off, what makes the Consew P1206RB different from the average household sewing machine is the walking foot. That foot moves the fabric layer by layer in sync with the needle, which eliminates the puckering and skipping you see when you try to sew thick denim, multiple layers of leather, or a heavy canvas blend with a regular feed dog. For anyone who's tried to stitch a pair of jean jackets or a canvas tote bag on a standard machine, you know the frustration of the fabric bunching up and the needle breaking. This walking foot essentially turns those problematic moments into a smooth glide. Now, you might be thinking, okay, a walking foot sounds nice, but I'm not a full-time manufacturer. Do I really need that level of industrial power? The answer depends on your intended workload. If you're planning to produce a few handcrafted leather belts a month, or you've got a hobbyist side gig making custom pillow covers from thick cotton, a mid-range domestic machine with a detachable walking foot could be sufficient. The P1, however, is built on a 10-step motor that delivers consistent torque without the need for external gear reducers. That means if you're feeding through 12-ounce canvas or multiple layers of leather, the machine will maintain stitch length without stalling, saving you both time and the occasional needle break. Let's talk about the actual day-to-day experience. The P1 has a single-speed, thread tension dial that is intuitively placed, so you don't have to hunt for hidden controls while you're in the middle of a run. When you crank the pedal, the foot pedal's resistance feels solid, not too heavy that it fatigues your foot, but firm enough to give you a sense of control. I've seen hobbyists who, after switching from a light-duty machine, report that they can sew for an hour straight with minimal hand fatigue because the machine does most of the heavy lifting. The industrial design also means there's a larger bobbin area, so you won't be constantly stopping to wind new bobbins when you're working on long seams for things like canvas bags or leather straps. One of the biggest hidden trade-offs with an industrial machine is the learning curve. The Consew doesn't have a user-friendly auto-thread function you see on many consumer models. You'll need to manually thread the upper and lower paths. That can feel daunting if you're used to push-button threading. However, the trade-off is a more robust threading path that can handle thick thread without slipping. If you're comfortable with a bit of a Hansen setup, you'll appreciate how reliable the threading remains even after dozens of heavy-duty runs. Another practical consideration is the size and weight. The P1 is a floor-standing unit that comes with a cast-iron base and a metal frame. It's roughly the size of a small domestic machine, but it's heavier, around 50 pounds. If you have a dedicated workshop or a garage space where you can anchor it, that's not a problem. On the other hand, if you're planning to move it from room to room, the weight could become a nuisance. I've spoken with a few small business owners who ended up placing the machine on a sturdy workbench and never needed to relocate it, which turned the heft into a benefit. The machine sits solidly, reducing vibration and improving stitch consistency. Where does the value truly come from? For a price that lands in the mid-four-figure range, the P1 offers a self-lubricating mechanism that reduces maintenance frequency. Most industrial machines require regular oiling of the needle bar, feed dog, and bearings. The Consew's built-in lubrication system means you can run a batch of projects for weeks before you need to top up the oil reservoir. That translates directly into less downtime and fewer chances of accidental wear because you've missed a lubrication interval. It also lets you focus on production rather than maintenance, which is a hidden cost-saving factor many reviewers overlook. On the downside, there are a couple of practical weaknesses that show up once you start using the machine. First, the machine only offers a limited range of stitch widths. If you need decorative stitches or want to experiment with wide hem stitches for fashion design, you'll find the options fairly basic, mostly straight, zigzag, and a few utility stitches. That's fine for most industrial tasks, but